For those who don't know me yet, I mean, Khaled already had a great introduction. Marvin, I've been in this design industry for about 20-something years now. I've served in both individual contributor and in leadership and management roles. And nowadays, I coach UX professionals in building successful careers based on their strengths and impacts, especially mid-level people, because as many of you probably know, we can get stuck and frustrated in this murky path, especially right now as the market is so crazy. And today, I want to talk with you about one of my favorite topics actually is, and it's reading between the lines of job posts. If you're on the job hunt right now, you probably had this experience that these posts are really broad and all-inclusive, and they always look for everything all at once. There's a reason why we do that. We usually cast a very wide net when we go fishing for candidates here. But today I'm going to offer you a bit of inspiration, maybe a different perspective also into looking what else is there except the job descriptions that can maybe give you a bit more insights into what you may be getting into or open up the conversation with the company you may be applying for even further. So if you've already worked with me or if you've seen me before, you probably heard this from me before. All job applications, that is a title here, all job applications are matching processes. What do I mean by that? Well, usually when we come as candidates, we're always in this notion that, I have to do my best, I have to be the best person out there, I have to prove myself in order for the company to hire me. While that is true, you have to be great and you have to present yourself well. The company also is in a need, right? They are actually looking for someone that they can hire to solve their problems. So in a way, it becomes a bit of a two-way street and a conversation that is a bit more at eye level. So having said that, we want you to come prepared to what it is we actually are looking for. And in that regard, it is also important that you look at the company in more of its entirety, if you can, at least a little bit beyond what is the obvious things in the job description, so you can have a conversation to see if the company that you're applying for is actually a good fit for you. Because if it turns out that you land a job and within 3 months or 6 months you notice that this isn't a good fit for you at all, and you leave, the company and the hiring manager are actually facing another problem because now they have to set up over this really, really expensive and lengthy hiring process, and they still will have the team member that solves that problem, right? So it's a risk for the company itself. And these tips here are going to, or hopefully going to inspire a bit of thought about what the organizations are truly like before you get into a mode when you have a conversation with them. And then there's another thing that I often come across in my coaching and mentoring sessions, and that's people really aren't sure how serious these ideas of, hey, come prepared with questions are when we go for candidates in interview situations. And from my perspective and from my experience as well, we really do want you to come prepared with questions about the organizations, things you want to know about what would it be like to be working at the company, what you would need as in terms of your management, you being that. So it's really important that you do come prepared, even though a lot of times there's not the immense amount of time in these interview situations for you to ask questions. Please make sure to actually take it serious when someone offers space for you to ask their questions. It tells them a lot about how engaged you are with the company, but it also tells them culture-wise, are you a good fit? And it lets you kind of, again, assess, is that company the right fit for you? And that is also an incentive of the company that is hiring. Yes. Now, as we go through like excerpts, like short sentences of a few job applications here or a few job posts that I want to discuss with you, I want to make sure that we all know that there's no judgment here. I've taken this from actual job posts, and not that these are good or bad. They're just examples of things that can be and that we can kind of look into. So don't judge them. I actually believe that even some companies with low UX maturity or some jobs that aren't as exciting as the big thing can really be good opportunities for you to be an impactful UX designer, and you just have to be kind of prepared for what you're stepping into. So let's look at it again. One more thing. We've all come across these, right? UX UI, UX product designer, direction designer, UX expert, all of these titles that are out there, and there's no real standard, right? Which makes it again a bit more difficult for us to really assess, is this role ready for me? I've seen a lot of UX designer position where it says strictly UX designer, when all of us, and if you look a bit further down, you actually read about Figma and prototyping and all of these kind of testing things. What you would say, well, maybe that's not how you understand UX per se. So, you have to kind of just deal with the fact that these titles actually, unfortunately, don't tell you much about the role. You really have to begin to really understand where the focus of the organization lies for that role. And one thing that makes it worse, even when it comes to maturity levels or seniority levels, again, there's no real standards. One can be a senior or even a lead designer, individual contributor designer in one organization, and then the next it could be that same skill level is actually just a mid-level designer or even in somewhere different, right? So we, again, navigate, look at what the job description really tells you, kind of find out if the role is for you. And I really doing that, look at if the role is for you. Now, another thing that comes to mind, equally important, is something that designers often don't want to hear, but unfortunately it is true. You're actually hired for business goals. Even if the company is highly invested in UX design or have the very high UX maturity, is very customer-centric or customer-focused, that's great. But ultimately, they do it as a means to an end, and the means to, at the end, in this case, is always business value, right? So you're hired to bring business value, and UX is just the way of you contributing to those things. So again, right, if we look into the job description, we want to be clear on what the company is actually looking for. What are they trying to achieve? What markets are they in? What are they interested? Just to be clear on how to, what are we getting into? What's the actual goal of the organization? Now let's step into things you may find out in a job description. Strategy. I think this cannot be overstated in importance, especially when it comes to more startup kind of setups in organizations. A lot of people, and it's not exclusive to design, don't realize that many companies that are on a startup level or are dependent on venture capital actually are in two markets, if you want to put it that way. So on one side, they're building their product, and they're interested in customer centricity and building something great. And on the other hand, they're very dependent on runway, on people giving them money. And that way very well affect the strategy. And the shorter your runway, the more you will have to get close to coming up with a new story or maybe updated story to get more venture capital, right? So then you can continue to work, because a lot of these startups or even scale-ups, even the larger organizations, aren't profitable yet. So they have to kind of bring an outside money to keep going. Now, how do you spot these kind of companies in job descriptions? I've pulled out a few kind of quotes, excerpts here, to let us see maybe what's single to more junior or more startup kind of vibe in the organization. And, like I said, that may affect the strategy of the company in terms of how much are they investing, are they going long-term, but it also may affect the way you work there, right? Here's a quote, for example: "We offer the opportunity to become part of a fast-growing tech startup." Well, that says it very clearly, right? But fast-growing is also a signal kind of thing. So maybe if you are very focused on, hey, I want to do thorough, deep dive research, that may not be the best organization for you, because if they are moving very quickly, because they are growing very, very quickly, then you may have to turn things through at a higher rate, at a higher velocity, and you may not get to do all the research you want, right? So just be careful of those kind of wordings. Better ... And I've taken these kind of giveaways out here so you don't necessarily know which company it is. Could be a universal offering to ... in the world. So again, a lot of aspiration, not so much, okay, we're already there, we're already marketing, it's where they want to go. Signaling to me, this is probably more of a startup setup, right? So maybe fewer designers, maybe also a bit of less maturity, maybe a bit fast moving, focus on growth rather than experience, maybe, right? Because obviously not all patterns that foster growth may also foster great experience on the same side, right? So when we look at how to work there, that gives us a bit of hint that this is probably more of a startup organization. We believe and ... should be at the heart of every business. Again, we're signaling here that this is the aspiration of the company rather than what they already are achieving. Now, in the last kind of quote, it says, "With us, you will be able to work on projects with an international footprint, be your market in the industry, and becoming a true driver of change." That is a promise that they are committing to, that they're saying that they can fulfill. So this hints to a large organization with a more broad market space already. So they've captured a bit more market, and they probably will be able to deliver, more product, long-term product to customers. But it also means that they may be moving a bit slower in terms of, creating products. So your development cycles may be a bit longer. You may be working on a project for a year rather than quickly running through things. So on the other hand, if that's not what you're up to, if you want to see your things die really quickly, this organization may not be the best fit for you. UX maturity, I think this is an important part for designers, because always, we always want to strive for a place where we get to work in the way we want to, right? I see this happening also in my coaching practice a lot, that the designers, especially more senior designers, tend to leave organizations because they see a job post somewhere that promises to hire UX maturity, and it just feels that, okay, finally I would be able to do the stuff I wanted in the way I wanted to, right? Now, again, I'm not saying one or the other is bad or good. I personally find a lot of value in companies that aren't as mature yet, because you actually get to build something there. And if they're committed to change, then you can enable them, right? But oftentimes this can also be seen and read through in these kind of job posts here. So one very clear example here is, you're expected to come on board and make a difference in the way we drive customer success. Now, from a designer's perspective, this sounds promising. This is exciting. I actually get to make my customers successful. But when I look at it, I read between the lines that they don't have that yet, right? They're not at a stage where you would be a part in a well-oiled machine where you have contributed to making customers successful because they already understand them. To me, it sounds more like, we know that there's an issue here. We're not there yet. Please come join us and fix it for us in a way. And by the way, that's also one of the reasons why a lot of companies tend to hire more senior designers, because they expect them to be able to cover some of the things that are missing in their design processes, in their design maturity. You can do a bit of project management. You're well equipped in stakeholder management. You can communicate across disciplines well. Not so much just about the hard unique skills, but it's about these in-between things as well. And here we have a clear signal, in my opinion, leading us to, this can be exciting, but we probably can't expect a very high level of UX maturity here. Serve as the primary UX designer for one or more product teams. Sounds exciting, right? I get to work with the different teams. Well, if we look at that part of the statement, I actually, and this is kind of why I highlighted or made it bold here, one or more product team is a bit of a signal for me. And really, it's in well-established organization for mature companies with a high level of UX maturity, you would see at least one designer for a product team, rather than one trying to serve multiple teams. So again, this is a signal for me. While it can be challenging or fun to be that challenge, and I get to do a lot of things and maybe experience different areas, they're probably in the phase where they haven't fully fleshed out the design teams yet, and you have to kind of serve a few different stakeholders. Now, if you're ready for that, great. If you want to be settled down in one product and one team, maybe not so much. Great pixel perfect designs that adhere to our design vision. This is actually taken from the same job posts here. It's a clear hint, obviously, to, hey, we actually want UI design, right? So in combination with one or more product teams, create pixel perfect design that adhere to our design vision, it very much sounds like someone has defined where they want to go in terms of product vision and in terms of this is how it's supposed to look. And you're more or less there to flesh it out with the product team together. So you're going to have a high focus on the delivery part of the job, call it UI, if you will. Again, not judging, just saying this is what I'm hearing or what I'm reading between the lines. And then versus here, you tackle design different challenges, and you will tackle the diverse design challenges, guiding the team and becoming a trusted partner to your product manager, engineers, and relevant stakeholders. Do you see the difference? One says you will be delivering outcomes, right? And the other says you'll be tackling at eye level in partnership with other disciplines. That's a clear hint for me for much more mature, in terms of UX mature organization. We will probably have established roles and titles, as in, this is what product management does, this is where UX takes over and where UX owns stuff, and this is where engineering holds it and owns it, right? And you come together at an eye level. They actually expect you to contribute in that way. Now, this can be fun again, right? But it's different a bit, and it's different roles for different designers, obviously, as well, right? Culture. One thing that is very, very important in my view of an organization, because it also leans towards how well they work with designers. I mean, many of us are or come from a creative field or from a creative background, or we're creative people. I mean, you don't necessarily function in the same way as everyone else in the organization necessarily. So culture does become a bit more important for us maybe than assuming someone from product or engineering. Now, what do we see here, right? We value the diversity and welcome all applicants regardless of ethnicity, religion. All right, there's already a bit of a hint here towards they take this thing serious. They are actually wanting applicants from all kinds of backgrounds and orientations and gender. And you will see hints towards this true inclusivity and true diversity in the process as well. They ask for pronouns, how the application process structured in general. There will be hints towards that. Now, I find this important because it, again, shows that they actually are also open for different opinions because, but diverse backgrounds usually come with different opinions. Then there's this hint about protect yourself from scammers. We want to ensure your ongoing safety during the application process. And that's actually the first time I've read anything like this on a job post. And it really, for me, is a great signal towards how they think about their employees, even before they become the employees. You're not just a human resource here, but you're a person, right? So that is something that would be probably a good indicator for me that, maybe there's some openness for me being a bit different here than just a normal or the normative kind of person. And then we have very typical for the startup scene, right? Gym memberships, catering, flexibility, and fun and games. All sounds nice. And if that suits your lifestyle and the space you are in your life at that moment in time, great, because you can connect to people in an organization really well. If you're an expat working in a different country, it can be great to make some connection again, get your social life going. But what it also says is you'll be here a lot. Because there's things that are clearly private that you will be doing in your social private life that we cover because you won't be having much of that. Right? Gym memberships. Well, if you pay me well, if there's great work-life balance, right, I leave after my full-time for 40 hours usually, then I can go to the gym. But if I'm there 60 hours, it's going to be a lot harder, right? So they kind of cover that a bit, and they offer all these things to supplement that you may be having a little less time. Actually, I had one person at one of these meetups a while back mentioned how great it was that they got to grab a beer after work there. Like, yeah, that's all well and nice, but it means you were there till 8 o'clock, right? So again, right, if you see these things, they're good, and it can be a great fit for you in that certain situation. But for me right now, for example, having 2 kids and a wife at home, it's probably not what I wanted, right? And then there's these I want to say kind of superficial claims to diversity. This is actually pretty much what it said. Yes, diversity. We have diversity. We have people from different nationalities, period. Now, if you compare it to the statement above, you very clearly see that one company actually cares about diversity and inclusion, and the other one is just putting it on as a stat. Diversity is one example of this happening, but it can very well also happen with something that is just equally as important to us, and that's customer centricity. Almost all the startups and almost all the tech companies put as one of their values, we are obsessed about our customers, we really value them. And when you look a bit deeper, you see designers delivering UI pure, right? You see that they ask designers for Figma files rather than a product or a design vision. So there's a gap between what they claim in their values sometimes and what the rest of the job description really tells you. I would be careful of that when it's just like this blank statement of things they know they should have, rather than it's really embedded in their values, and you can feel it throughout their communication, and it's probably just there so you can kind of adapt to it, right? How would you succeed in an organization? What are they actually expecting of you? You're expected to come on board and make a difference in the way we drive customer success, right? It's very similar. I'm thinking we may even have that one. It's basically you come in and you fix it. Collaborative and open-minded, proactive, hands-on, self-starter, and perseverant. That's great. But it also hints to me that there may not be much support from management because the management may not be that mature yet, or they don't have high structural levels, right? So maybe a very flat hierarchy where everyone has to kind of work for themselves. And if you run into an issue, maybe there's no one there that can fix it for you. Maybe you have to fix it yourself, right? Versus execute end-to-end high-value initiatives with high level of ownership and influence. And it sounds a bit more complete, but also still saying, you're running on your own. Translate strategy and insights into well-considered journeys and flows and wireframes. That's actually one of the first times I've seen a true kind of UX positioning here, right? Because it says, okay, you take the strategy and you translate it into something that our customers, like users, can actually use, right? So a bit more user-focused here, but still very much hands-on. We're looking for a creative senior UX designer who excels at crafting user-friendly, visual appealing experience and products. All that's obvious, right? So you see, especially from the last statement, one is very UX-focused and one is very UI-focused. Then another thing I wanted to highlight here again is that, and I mentioned it earlier a bit, these companies are obviously also all in phases of their life cycle, if you will, right? And the roles they are pitching will be affected by that, even though it may not be stated as clearly. If you're in a startup situation, the company is just starting out, you may be the founding designer, or you may be the second or third or fourth designer. Technically still, if you want to be strict about it, you're probably still very close to being the founding designer because there's not much there yet, right? So what happens then if the company runs out of runway? I've seen it happen in a few companies of my peers, that strategy all of a sudden shifted. You were hired to bring in, this high level of UX processing, you're building stuff, and all of a sudden money runs out and the story shifts and the strategy shifts, and now you have to crank out UI a bit more. That can be fine, right? And sometimes you can read some of these things like we were talking about earlier, in the job descriptions already. Check out what level is this company at. Are they just starting out? If not, how long have they been on the market? Do you see, okay, yes, they've grown already a bit past the initial stages, or they've been in the market for 2 or 3 years, but they still only have 1 or 2 designers, and they still don't have high market share. They're still talking about we want, we should, and all of these aspirational statements. Well, then there's a high probability that at some point in the future, they will need more money. And if that happens, they would probably have to tell investors a new story, right? Scale-ups. So you're growing exactly, maybe if the first kind of level of design hierarchy as well, and a bit of team management established. Or what can happen here? Companies at this stage are more often affected quicker by short-term economics effects. We're seeing it right now. A lot of the scale-ups have closed down or let go of quite a few designers and have been affected heavily because market has crashed. It happened to me. I was in the real estate market with a hybrid realtor. Great company, we were doing well, but then the real estate market crashed in Germany, and the company basically had to pivot the model a bit, and design all of a sudden was not as important for them anymore. At least product design wasn't. So we switched. Right? Again, look at where the company is at their life cycle and what's happening. Exit strategies. Another important thing that happens. At some point, investors want their money back. Right? They want a return on investment. So the company will have to think of an exit strategy, or and if that happens, that they're close to an IPO maybe, or something like that, or that will be at a later stage. How does that affect design? I know you can't get all of this information, but you can get hints about where they may be in their life cycle, and once you're in the conversation, you can ask about it, right? Because if they're merging with another company, do they really need 2 design teams, or will that even be enough for you to grow because it becomes bigger? Mature companies, they're more established. They may also have more established design teams with a lot more structure and hierarchy. That can be interesting to you. I mean, after you can tell, especially the data to by the titles or the names of the companies, because you've heard them before. But if you look for those, you can expect a different level of design maturity, maybe even. But then you have these long-term technology trends that are affecting them. I mean, we see it right now with AI. A lot of Germany, right? In the car industry, we're big, but we're not good in electronic vehicles, and we're not very good at AI. And you can see it affect our car industry. So, what are the long-term effects that we want to look out for? Is this a field that is going to be interesting for the next 2, 3, 5, 10 years? Maybe if you want to stay on long-term, or is it a field that maybe will be affected very quickly and is not as interesting to go into? And then you have the group companies, like the really large companies like Volkswagen or the Apples of the world and all those. And then you can, again, look at what their long-term vision is, but they will also tell you that in the job description. If you look at the really high-profile companies, they will let you know what they want in the long term and where their vision is, because they have a much longer view than just, these companies up here that maybe operating at a quarter to a year, right? They would probably do a lot of things more at a 3, 5, 6, 10 years perspective. Thank you so much. And let's stay connected on LinkedIn. I write this newsletter fairly regularly. And then I talk about a lot of these topics there, and I often share kind of offers of where I show up or people from my network show up. So yeah, look forward to seeing you all again soon. Thank you, Carter, for having me.